Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. October the 19th, 2021. The weather at the Environmental Center is gorgeous. We wish you could be here to enjoy it with us. I'm sure it's just about as nice where you are. So we want to say a very special welcome to some schools today for attending the Dallas Independent School District's STEM Environmental Education Center virtual field trip. Paul Dunbar, Salazar, Lakewood, Cowart, Bethune, Blanton, Idaho, Bishop Arts, Humphrey Lee, Pleasant Grove, Reinhardt, Gilbert Cuellar, Julian Saldivar, Seagoville North, Julius Dorsey, Urban Park, William Anderson, Vickery Meadows, Virtual Academy, and a very special welcome to Winnetka, because I attended Winnetka Elementary School many, many years ago. Teachers, if you're watching and you're not signed up, please go to www.tiny.cc/PK-2 registration. Sign up for us, please. Programs today will be Force in Motion. During this virtual field trip, students will explore interactions between magnets and various materials, observe the location of an object in relation to another, and observe the ways that objects can move. Ms. Ram is going to tell you all about magnets. Mr. Monroe is going to describe the locations of objects. Ms. Ramirez talk about the ways object moves. Mr. Dominguez will talk about ways that animals move. During this program, you cannot ask us a verbal question, but you can go to www.tiny.cc/question-answer and fill out a question and send it to us, and I'll do my best to answer it during the program. If not, I'll send the answers to your teacher, and your teacher can discuss them with you. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Miss Schramm is going to tell you all about magnets.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm Miss Schramm, and we are talking all about magnetism. So at the end of my part, you'll be able to explore interactions between magnets and various materials. So today we've got 2 questions to focus on with magnets. So how do magnets interact with other objects, and how do magnets interact with one another? So we're going to explore both of those things, and we're going to use magnets looking like this. So these are magnets you might see in your classroom. And they're ones that we are going to use here in the lab today. Okay, so I've gathered all these materials, and I found these in my science lab, but they are also things that you probably have in your classroom or at your house. So if you want to explore with magnets later on your own or with your teacher, these are the things that we're going to be using today. So, all right, I'm going to share my little table with you. And I have these fancy dancy little bar magnets, and that's what we're going to use mostly today. And then I'm going to bring out each object one by one. So I'm going to put the object in the middle. First, we got this little wood cookie, and then I'm going to bring the magnet near. So I want you all to be thinking while I do that, do you think that there's going to be an interaction with the magnet? So do you think this is going to be magnetic? Yes or no? So magnetic or non-magnetic? So let's see, first one. Well, it didn't move, nothing happened. So that is non-magnetic. All right, so wood is not magnetic. How about a paper clip? So I'm gonna set my paper clip there and then bring my magnet close. Whoop. And as you can see, the magnet picked up that paper clip. So that tells me that the paper clip is magnetic. All right, so we got one yes and one no. Next, I have a marble. And I'm actually just gonna put the marble in a plastic tray, because otherwise this glass marble is gonna roll right off the table. So I'm gonna bring my magnet near. Nope, nothing happened. So the glass marble is not magnetic. Let's see. I have a crayon. No movement, not magnetic. How about a pipe cleaner? I love using pipe cleaners with my crafts. So let's see, they've got a wire in it so it can keep its shape. Let's see if that's going to be magnetic. Haha, it is. So our pipe cleaner is magnetic. All right, let's see what I have next. I have a soda can. And soda cans are made out of aluminum. Not magnetic. Okay. Let's see, I've got a little ring magnet like you might find on the back of a refrigerator magnet. So let's see. Haha, it is magnetic. Okay. And I got two more. So I have a compass here. And I want you to focus on the red part of the arrow. So there's a little dial in the middle and half of it is red. So when I bring my magnet close, I want you to pay attention to that red part of the arrow. So let me see. I'm bringing my magnet near and it's able to make the arrow move and turn without even touching it. So let's see, if I flip it around, the arrow flips around. Interesting. So the compass is magnetic. And then my last thing is iron filings. So someone took some of the metal iron and shaved tiny little bits off. So it's kind of like little particles, almost like glitter, but it's all made of iron. So let's see what happens when I move my magnet underneath. So I put it in the Petri dish just so I don't make a mess, because otherwise this stuff will get all over the place. So I'm going to put my magnet underneath. So I'm able to move the iron by using my magnet. So iron filings are magnetic. Let's review our findings and see if we can draw any conclusions from them. So the objects that were not magnetic were the glass marble, the wood cookie, the crayons, the aluminum soda can, and the rock. Then the items that were magnetic were the pipe cleaner, the compass, the paper clip, iron filings, and the ring magnet. So I won't be able to hear your response, but I want you to tell a friend next to you, why do you think that those items that were magnetic were attracted to the magnet? So what do they have in common that makes them magnetic? All right, go tell your friend. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, hopefully you noticed that all those items that are magnetic have metal. So they all have metal in them. But you might also have noticed, hello, Ms. Schramm, that aluminum soda can is metal too, but it wasn't magnetic. That is because only some metals attract magnets. So iron, nickel, and cobalt are the main ones. Those are the ones we'll talk about together. Those ones are easily magnetized. A few other metals as well, but aluminum is not in there, so I kind of tricked you a little bit, sorry. But the point is to let you know that not all metals are magnetic, but iron, nickel, and cobalt definitely are. Okay, so that answers our first question, how do magnets interact with other objects? Now we're gonna see how magnets interact with one another. So I have two little bar magnets like we've been using. And you may have noticed that they have a red side and a blue side. And now on your screen, you can see that the red side has an N and the blue side has an S. That is because there's a north and south pole to all magnets. Every single magnet has one. It's just that these that we use in our classrooms and science labs are easily color-coded so that we know when we're doing experiments which side is which. So we are going to try to bring these magnets close together and see what kind of interaction they have. So when I bring north poles together, we're going to see then a north and a south pole, and then two south poles, and we'll see what happens. So let's get back to the science table and we'll see. So I have my first magnet facing this way. The north pole is facing in, and this one I'm going to bring closer until we see what happens. North poles, whoop, it pushes it away. It pushed it so much it turned it around. So 2 North poles together push apart. That means they repel. So if you were holding these 2 magnets in your hand, you would be able to feel that magnetic force between them repelling each other. They are pushing apart. All right, now I'm going to flip it around and bring the South Pole to the North Pole. So what do we think it's going to happen? Do we think it's going to pull together or push apart? Let's see. Whoop. It pulls it along. It almost snaps right together. And once again, if you're holding these magnets, you would feel the magnetic force pulling them together. You've got to put a little muscle to pull them apart. So the South Pole and the North Pole are attracted to each other. When they pull together, that's attract. Now, I'm going to put my South Pole facing the South Pole. And based on what happened previously, let's see, do you think they're going to attract or repel? All right, let's see. Boop. It repelled the other south side. So you could feel the South Poles push apart. Whoa. All right. So let's review our findings and draw our conclusions. So when we put 2 North Poles together, they repelled, right? They pushed apart. Then when we brought a South Pole and a North Pole together, they were attracted. Then when we brought 2 South Poles together, they repelled again. So that tells me that when the poles are the same, it repels. And when they are the opposite, they attract. All right, let's check out the magnetic field really quick. So I mentioned the magnetic force. So I can feel the magnetic force, but I can't see it. I can't see them pushing apart. And I know they have a magnetic field around them, but it's hard to envision what it looks like. So what somebody did was they took a picture of one of these bar magnets like we've been using and those iron filings from before, and they sprinkled them on top. And then the magnet attracted those iron filings and it kind of made a pattern so that we could see what the magnetic field and those magnetic forces look like. So that's a little diagram to kind of show you how the magnet works and where that magnetic field is. So the magnetic field, all that is the area that's affected by the magnet. So the bigger the magnet, the bigger the magnetic field. These are rather small, so I had to bring my magnet pretty close to those objects before I got an interaction. If it was a stronger magnet, that distance would be like smaller. I would have to, or sorry, bigger. I wouldn't have to bring it so close. But either way, that is the magnetic field. So our vocabulary review is when magnets are opposite, they attract, they pull together. When the poles are the same, they repel or push apart. And magnets attract metal objects that contain iron, nickel, or cobalt. All right. So my challenge to you before I send you off is later in the day, or maybe when you get home, or sometime with your teacher, you can explore your classroom to find more examples of magnetic and non-magnetic objects. And if you don't have one of these, that's okay. You could just take a magnet from your fridge, or sometimes you have them on the whiteboard and see what they stick to. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your field trip, and I can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Schramm. And we did have a question that came in. What kind of metals are attracted to a magnet? Metals that are naturally attract, I can't say that word, attract to magnets are known as, listen to this word, ferromagnetic, F-E-R-R-O-M-A-G-N-E-T-I-C, ferromagnetic metals. These magnets will firmly stick to these metals. For example, iron, cobalt, steel, nickel, manganese, gadolinium, and lodestone are all ferromagnetic metals. Thank you again, Ms. Schramm. And now, Mr. Monroe is going to discuss the locations of objects.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mr. Monroe, and we're going to be looking in to some terms or words that describe locations of objects in relationship with other objects. And so today, instead of using a lot of objects, I'm going to use some of the animals that I have here in my lab. Now, these words are words like beside, above, below, behind, in front of. And while we're going through some of the demonstrations here, I want you all, as a challenge to you all, to be thinking of some of the other words we might be using in place of the words that I'm going to use. And I'll kind of remind you of that as we go through the presentation. And I'm going to start by using two of my favorite puppets. This is a puppet that is a possum, and this one is, of course, you know what this is, a skunk. And we do have possums and skunks out here at the Environmental Ed Center. They both, basically, they inhabit our Post Oak Preserve that's across the road here. And from time to time, we do see possums every once in a while. And of course, we don't see a lot of skunks, but you sure can smell them, can't you? Well, let's take these guys, for example. If they were really alive, do you think they would be walking along with each other? Well, probably not. But there is a word that we can use to describe the way that they are located. If they are side by side, we say beside. I'm walking beside. Taking a live animal like Teresa here, which is a three-toed box turtle, if I put her on my side here and she's close to me, we are now side by side. Now, Teresa walks so slow that if I was walking with her, I probably would have to walk in front of her and hope that she would follow me, but most likely she wouldn't do that. If I was going to follow her and see her walking around the room here, I would walk actually behind her and she would be in front of. Think of some words that you can use to describe those positions or those locations, okay? Now, earlier, I had a friend that kind of helped me out, and my friend kind of got a little restless, so I'm not going to spend time trying to chase down my pet chicken because it would take me a while. I'd run out of time. Listen, above and below. Well, I've got a perfect example for that. In this container, we see that there is a fishing float, and that float is floating above the fish, right? So the fish is below. There are some words that we can use other than above and below. Let's try using on top of, okay, and underneath. It means the same thing. So the float is above, and yet it's on top of where the fish is located, right? The fish is below, and of course, it's underneath where the float is located. So there you go. I've helped you out with two words that you can use that to be replaced. If you were here today and we were walking along the trail, you would see me go over and start digging up the leaf litter around that's on the ground. And of course, I'd be looking for some little organisms that would be inhabiting that area underneath the leaf litter. And those organisms, I have some right here. And you probably can't, oh, I saw one, it crawled out. It's called a best bug or a best beetle. And this is what they look like. They live underneath or below the leaf litter or inside of a dead tree or dead log. But that is a best beetle. He didn't cling real good, so he fell off of my hand. But I wanted you guys to see that. And they do like to stay underneath the leaf litter. And every once in a while, they'll struggle and they will come on the top of the leaf litter or above the leaf litter. Okay, well, I have a couple of more animals to show you before I run out of time. And these animals actually remind me of a game that I played probably when I was about your age. It was called Leapfrog. And it was a game where we hopped over one another. We'd have somebody in front of us, somebody behind us, and Basically, the person in front would get down in a low position and the person behind would put their hands on their back and they would hop over the person in front of them. And we call that leapfrog. We would even have races doing that. Sometimes we would have 3 of us on a team and sometimes there would be just 2. But we had races in the yard, leaping over one another, just like we were little frogs. Okay, well, I got a couple of frogs I want to show you. This is Hoppy Senior. He's a big bullfrog. And this is Hoppy Junior. He's a little bit smaller. And you know what? If I kind of understand how they named that little game leapfrog, because frogs hop, don't they? And if these frogs were playing that game, we would see Hoppy Senior hop over the top of Hoppy Junior. And then we would see Hoppy Junior hop over the top of Hoppy Senior. And this would go on and on until I guess they got tired. And in fact, that's what we did. But there you have it. Behind, beside, in front of, on top of, below. Those are common used words to describe the position of objects in relationship with each other. I want you guys to have a good day today and a good rest of your virtual field trip with us. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Gorman in case some of you have some questions. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. And the student says, Mr. Monroe, you used a lot of different words that mean the same thing as other words. Now, he wants to know if there are any more words for location, the main subject that we discussed. And yes, I did a quick Google search, and here are some synonyms. Ask your teacher. Synonyms are words that mean the same. Position, place, site, locality, locale, spot, and this is a funny one, whereabouts. Those are all synonyms for location, which Mr. Monroe just got through discussing with you. Thank you, Mr. Monroe. And then Ms. Ramirez is going to tell us about the way that objects move.
Hello, my name is Ms. Ramirez, and in this segment, we're going to be learning about motion. And motion is simply, how does an object move? So before we get started talking about motion, I have an animal friend, and she's going to help us learn about how an animal moves. So I'm going to give you some clues to who my animal is, and then I'll let you guys guess. This animal friend has no legs, but she is still able to move in a variety of ways. So she can slither around, she can move up things, and she can also go down things. She is very unique in that this type of animal can actually smell using their tongue. She also likes to eat meat. So she's a type of animal called a carnivore, and she has a very long backbone. So if you guys were to take 2 fingers and touch the back of your neck, the bone that goes from your neck all the way down your back is your backbone. So this animal has a long backbone. Again, the biggest clue is she has no legs. So go ahead and make your guess who this animal is, and then we'll go ahead and meet her. And if you guys said a snake, you would be correct. This is Pelota. She's a ball python snake. See how she moves her tongue up and down to help her smell. Now, even though she doesn't have legs, she can still move around. And you can see she has scales on her body. So I'm going to go ahead and put our snake friend up, and we're going to look at some examples of how things can move. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a brain break. We're going to see if your brain can do 2 motions at once. So I want you guys to take your left hand, and the way that I remember left is your left hand makes the letter L. So take your left hand, put it on top of your head, and move it up and down, up and down. Take your right hand, the other hand that you have left, put it on your stomach and make it in a circular path. So make a circle. Now we're going to try and do those 2 things at the same time. So this is kind of hard for your brain to do sometimes because you're asking your brain to do 2 different things, but see if you guys can figure that out. And it gets even harder if you try and do it faster and faster.
So that's just a little brain break. Our body is in motion. Now let's talk about some describing words for motion. The first word we're going to talk about is trajectory. Trajectory is just the path an object is taking as it's moving. So let's look at some examples of trajectory. The first is a straight line. So if you take your arm and make it nice and straight, this is straight line. Can you guys name some animals or objects that might move in a straight line? Now, the thing that comes to my mind is when you guys are in the hallway and your teacher tells you walk in a straight line. So that would be a good example of a straight line. The next way an object can move is zigzag. So if you take your hand and you do this motion, this is zigzag. So can you guys think of some things that might move in a zigzag? Our next motion is wavy. So if you take your hand and do this motion, can you guys think of some objects or animals that might move in a wavy trajectory? The thing that comes to my mind, if you ever go to the ocean, you might see the water waves. They get the name waves because they have a wavy motion. Our next trajectory word is circular. So if you take your finger and make circles in the air, this is a circular path. So can you guys think of some objects that might go in a circular motion? We just had the state fair recently. So if you guys went on the Ferris wheel, that is an object that goes in a circular motion. So that's circular. The next word we're going to take a look at deals with direction. So direction tells us where is something moving or what direction is it pointing. So let's look at some direction words. The first two words we have are up, and the other word we have is down. So the science word for up is ascend. The science word for down is descend. So if your teacher allows you, go ahead and stand up, and we're going to practice some of these words. We're going to put our body in motion. So first, we're going to practice up. Remember, the science word for up is ascend. So we're going to stand up on our tippy toes, and now we're going to go down or descend. So now let's come back up, ascend, and go back down, descend. So ascend, descend. And those words just mean to go up and to go down. Other direction words would be round and round. So can you guys think of some things that might go around and around? If you guys are standing, see if you guys can walk around and around in a circle. And if you go around and around too many times, you might feel dizzy. So think of a carousel that goes around and around at the fair. Our next direction word is back and forth. So if you take your hand and you go back and forth, this is back and forth. You can also go front to back, front to back. So if you're standing, feel free to walk forward and then walk backwards. So walk forward and then walk backwards. And again, that is back and forth. Our next word deals with speed. Speed tells us how fast or how slow something is moving. So our first speed word is fast. So can you guys think of some objects that might be super fast? I'm probably thinking of a really fast car. So if you guys are standing, see if you can run really fast in place. So this is fast. What's the opposite of fast? Hopefully you guys said slow. So can you guys think of some toys or animals that might be slow? And if you guys are standing, let's practice. Run in place really fast. Now walk really slow like a turtle. Now run really fast and then walk really slow like a turtle. So those are some motion words, and you guys can go ahead and take a seat again. So now I'm actually going to show you some toys, and I want you guys to describe how they move. So use some of those motion words. So my first one is our Slinky friend. And again, teachers, feel free to pause the video to allow time for kids to discuss. But how could we describe the motion of the Slinky? So the Slinky is moving back and forth. It's moving back and forth, side to side, and back and forth, up and down. So this is horizontal. This is vertical, up and down. Now I'm going to show you some of my other toys and be thinking about how can we describe their motion. Now, do you think this toy is fast or slow? And I think he's actually pretty slow. He was going in a straight line until he turned directions. My next toy is this top. See if you can describe its motion. I think it's going super fast, and it's also going in a circle, round and round. I have another spinny top. Again, look at its motion. Ooh, that top went super fast, and it kind of went all over the place. So we have our spinning top going really fast, and then we have the little metal snake that was moving side to side. My next one is a toy car, and it went super fast in a straight line. My next one is this little top. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but we'll see if it'll do it for us. This little top is supposed to jump in the air, so it went up in the air, and then it came back down. And my next little toy I want to show you guys is called Newton's Cradle. It's this thing right here. So I'm going to take this little ball. I'm going to make it go high in the air. I'm going to drop it. It's going to hit the other balls, and it's going to swing back and forth, sort of like a swing on the playground. So this is back and forth motion. And then the last thing I have for you guys is just a little challenge for y'all. All you need is just a piece of paper. You can see if you can fold it into an airplane, and then you and your friends can throw them in the classroom and see if you can describe its motion. So is your airplane fast or slow? Is it going in a straight line, or did it go in a wavy line? So see if you guys can describe how your paper airplane is moving. And that's all I have for you guys today for motion. We're going to give it back to Dr. Gorman to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. And we did have a question. How do things move? Okay, so I went to greatschools.com to give you a real good answer. Living things can move by themselves. Things that are not alive move in different ways. Some things fall, some things roll, some things fly, some things slide, some things bounce, and some things pour. And you might know a few more ways, but those are the main ways that things move. Okay, now Mr. Dominguez is going to tell you about the ways that animals move.
Hola amigos, en esta parte de su paseo virtual vamos a hablar del movimiento y vamos a usar diferentes animales para demostrar diferentes tipos de movimiento. Hi friends, in this part of your virtual field trip, I will be talking about movement, and we are going to be using different animals to show you guys different types of movement, and that's because animals move in very different ways to do very different things. So for example, this is a Leachianus Gecko, and he is very good at climbing up trees, and that's because he lives in trees. He actually lives inside the hollow part of trees, of dead trees, so he has to be very good at climbing. And right now he's not doing a very good job of showing you guys his climbing abilities, but he is very good at hanging on. Can you guys see that? He has very special feet that have very sharp claws that allow him to hang on to things very well. But he's not the only animal that I am going to show you guys today. I'm going to show you guys some animals around our center and some animals that I own at home, which all have very special ways of getting around. So let's get started with our presentation. Say bye to them, Leachy. Bye, guys. Primero vamos a hablar de las líneas derechas o el movimiento que sigue las líneas derechas. Un buen ejemplo son las líneas que siguen en la escuela. Son derechas, ¿verdad? Let's talk about straight lines first, or movement that follows a straight line. A good example are the lines that you form at school and hopefully follow in a straight line. Let's see some animal examples.
Ketchup's pretty similar, I think. Chicken byproduct meal, whole grain corn, soy flour, whole grain wheat, and corn gluten meal. Okay, but blue's more expensive.
A veces nos movemos arriba y abajo, especialmente en el recreo, ¿verdad? Sometimes we move up and down, especially at recess, right? So let's see some animal examples. En los columpios nos movemos de ida y vuelta. On a swing, we move back and forth. Let's see some animal examples. En el carrusel vamos en círculos. ¿Han ido a la feria? In a merry-go-round, we go in circles. Have you guys been to the fair? Let's see some animal examples that go round and round. El último movimiento que vamos a demostrar es el movimiento zigzag o el movimiento de lado a lado, de izquierda a derecha, de izquierda a derecha. The last movement that we are going to show is a zigzag movement or a movement from side to side, from left to right, from left to right. Let's see some animal examples.
This is the finals. DJ on top, Force on the bottom, boy. Force is flying through there. In and out of the tunnel with the lead. Whoa, but a jump in quick by DJ. Force is just out. Too big of a
Ok, amigos, gracias por venir a nuestro paseo virtual. All right, guys, thank you for coming to our virtual field trip. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dominguez. And we did have a question. Do all animals walk on 4 legs? And if not, name one animal that walks on 2 legs. Okay, the answer is no. All animals don't walk on 4 legs. And I'm probably going to surprise some of you with this answer, but you are an animal and you do walk on 2 legs. So thank you. During this virtual field trip, students explore the interaction between magnets and various materials. Observe the location of an object in relation to another and observe the ways that objects can move. Ms. Schramm told you about magnets. Mr. Monroe discussed locations of objects. Ms. Ramirez told you the way that objects can move, and Mr. Dominguez told you about the ways that animals move. Thank you for joining us. If you will, teachers, go to www.tiny.cc/pk-2feedback. Fill out a very short form and send it back to us. We certainly would appreciate it. You guys have a great day, but most importantly, you have a great life.